I'm gonna tell you some beautiful heirloom seeds that you could sow in the south in the month of August. Now, if you are growing in a zone that is cooler than a zone 7B, I suggest you go back to the playlist and find my suggestions for August planting for the north. This is for southern gardeners. So if you're growing in a zone 7B, 8, 9, if you're in South Florida, I'm gonna give you some suggestions and I'm gonna break it down depending on your region in the south. Now, no matter where you are in the south, there are a few considerations that you do need to make when you're thinking about planting in the month of August. Okay, first of all, we know pretty much doesn't matter where you are in the south. August is excruciatingly hot. So the most important thing is to do any measures that we can to mitigate the heat. That means watering in a concentrated area right at the base of the roots and giving your plants long, deep drinks of water. Drip tape would be one of the best ways to make that happen. 2, utilizing microclimates and creating shady spots to grow some of your more heat-sensitive crops. And 3, and most importantly, you need to determine if your region has frost and when that first frost date is about expected to happen. Now, I know in the south, it can be really random. I'm growing in Central Florida. It can really range, but we do want to work with an approximation. Another really important resource that I do suggest that you look into is that each state typically has a university approved planting guide that is month by month. So if you're really worried about the margin of error and you're just not sure that you can grow a crop in your area, don't worry. An extension agent has probably already written an article all about this, and you just have to do a quick Google search on your region of your state, okay? So, now we're gonna think about that last frost date, or at least when we typically start to expect our weather to take a turn for the cooler. We wanna mark that approximate date on our calendar, because for some of our crops, we're gonna need to really take that into consideration and how much time we have for them to mature. So first, I'm going to address you super southern gardeners in low central Florida and South Florida, just to give those totally frost-free gardeners or nearly frost-free gardeners some inspiration. August is oftentimes the month that you will start your tomatoes, and now we have varieties left on the website like Chadwick cherry tomato, and I always do recommend cherry tomatoes for Florida because Florida has so many heat and humidity issues and disease issues with tomatoes that cherry tomatoes are almost unequivocally considered more reliable. But if you really must have a big traditional red saucy slicey tomato, try the Abe Lincoln tomato. You also can try the Roma tomato. That one's also available on our site still. So Roma, Abe Lincoln, or Chadwick cherry, all great options if you're growing in warm Central and South Florida. Now you can also start your peppers in August if you're in a completely frost-free or a very low frost zone, because you got plenty of time. Now, peppers I love for Florida, we've got the Etuda pepper. That's a sweet pepper. If you're looking for a sweet bell pepper, Etuda is a beautiful orange bell pepper, and it's really versatile. It's very rugged and easy to grow, very prolific. You're gonna love it. You can also grow the datil pepper, which is a Florida heirloom. That one was bred in St. Augustine, Florida. It has a really fascinating history. And then we also have the lemon spice jalapeno still left on the website, which I think is a really lovely variety of jalapeno developed at New Mexico State University. So you've got a few options for peppers, you've got a few options for tomatoes. Also, if you're in a frost-free or low frost zone, Central, South Florida, or on the other coast, you can start your eggplants as well. We still have a beautiful variety called Listada de Gandia left on the website, and we've got a variety called Ping Tung, which is my favorite Asian type, slender, long eggplant. It's delicious, it's super tender. Also, you could start your okra in the month of August if you are a super southern low frost to no frost gardener. So start your okra. We have a variety left on the website called Emerald. It's a delicious classic green, and it's going to grow beautifully over the winter for you. Now, if you're growing a little upper south, this could be the Carolinas, Georgia, and North Florida, you're going to have some different considerations for what you're going to plant in the month of August. You can certainly squeeze in a crop of beans if you plant them in August, and we still have a beautiful variety called Golden Butterwax that I highly recommend. Delicious, waxy green bean, nice, tasty. One of my favorites for making dilly beans, dill pickles. dill pickled green beans, great variety. Or you could try summer squash. Now you will need to kind of assess your specific region's squash bug population this time of year, but some southern gardeners will be able to pull off a late crop of summer squash. And if you pick a variety like the lemon summer squash, which we still have in stock on the site, that would be a variety that will mature fairly quickly. You'll definitely be able to squeeze it in before your first frost. Just be mindful of those squash bugs and make sure that your population isn't so out of control that they're gonna just munch the plants down to the ground. When we get into the upper regions of this southern video, you do want to think about your frost date because it's going to impact what you can plant. The good news is that your frost is actually going to make some of your crops taste even better. So if you've always dreamed of the sweet, super sweet, earthy beets that we enjoy growing up north pretty much all year round, this would be an excellent time to get your beets in the ground. Now, beets are pretty hot sensitive. They don't love extreme heat. So you're gonna have to do some tricks to mitigate the super heat. This may be one of the only instances I suggest transplanting beets. You could start them indoors in a shaded, cool area and very gently transplant them out, and that could work for you. You also alternatively could plant them in a super shaded location, maybe somewhere where you plan to take out your sunflowers in a few months, but during the super heat of the summer, there's a nice wall of sunflower or corn, something casting really big, heavy shade. Starting them in the coolest microclimate possible, providing them lots of moisture, even deep moisture, and when they start growing up, giving them a nice layer of mulch around the roots. Those are going to be key elements to having a successful beet crop in the South. And I promise it's so worth it because once those beets get exposed to that cold, if you are lucky and you get some cold this winter, they're going to taste phenomenal. It really unlocks an incredible flavor change in beets that will really blow your mind. So good luck. I hope you can make beets happen. If you can tell, I'm a serious beet lover. Carrots are another great choice, but it's really super microclimate specific depending on your region of the South, whether you can start carrots in August, because carrots are incredibly finicky about heat. They really don't like extreme heat when they're germinating, and more so, they're really quite finicky about the moisture level that they have when they're germinating. So a trick that I always employ, and I highly recommend, sow your carrot seeds, water them in immediately, and then promptly cover them with a wooden board to exclude light and wind, because the seeds will dry out quickly if they're exposed to direct sunlight. But they also need to be planted really shallowly because they're carrot seeds and they're really small. So you get into a bit of a catch-22. So my suggestion is cover them with a wooden board to retain that moisture until they germinate. Once they've germinated and they've gotten to be about a quarter to a half inch tall, pull that board off. Continue to really evenly water the seedlings so that they get a good chance at growing up and becoming established. And then once your heat starts to peter off, now if you're in the upper regions of the South, it will eventually start to do that, we hope. Your carrots are going to be super happy because carrots love that cool fall weather. And then once you do get that eventual frost, if you're in that kind of area that gets a frost, your carrots are going to sweeten up just like I was talking about beets. They'll do the same thing. They're going to get super sweet, crunchy. Definitely the best tasting southern carrots you're going to get are the ones you harvest in the winter. So prepare now so that you have a really beautiful harvest later. Then we've got some southern staples that are super easy to grow, and they love growing over the fall and winter, and they're perfect to start in August. For some people in the South, it's already time to start your collard greens. Again, you can start these collards directly in the garden with some babying and care, or you can start them indoors and transplant them out when they're about 3 to 4 inches tall and the plants have become a little bit established. Now, collard greens and anything in the brassica family, aka the cabbage family, require a lot of deep nutrition. So good, rich soil is essential. Now, your soil might be kind of burnt out after a long summer, so an addition of some well-rotted compost dug into your site that you're planning to put your cabbage relatives into is pretty helpful. Similar to collards, you can do mustard greens right now. It depends on the part of the South that you're in, and you may want to do some deeper digging by looking up your specific region, but many southern gardeners in August, especially late August, can start their mustard greens. You could start them much like you started your collards. You could start them indoors, or you could direct seed them with care. Just be sure to make sure and keep them nice and cool. and well watered with rich soil as they begin to grow. Then as the fall comes on and the weather cools off, they're going to grow on their own really beautifully. Varieties of mustard that I highly suggest and are still available on the site would be Katsuona, and that's more of an Asian type mustard green. And then we also have Green Wave, which is a classic Southern American type. You're going to love them. They're spicy, they're pungent, they're deeply nutritious. They're exactly what you need for the wintertime palate. Finally, I suggest you start your turnips. You could try a long season turnip. You could try a Japanese salad type turnip. Those mature in just 45 days, 55 days, much sooner than the longer season turnip. And they're super creamy and they make a lovely raw snack. They're a really different flavor experience than the traditional large turnip. We have the Hida Beni variety of Japanese salad turnip. I highly recommend it. It's delicious raw. You can make it into pickle. You can put it in your stir fries or salads. You can cook it. It's very versatile and one of my favorite little snacking turnips. So that's my list for August planting in the South. Now, I know that was a lot to take in and that was varied. It was all across the board. But that's the thing about planting in August in the South, is that we've got so many different microclimates and so many different scenarios going on depending on what part of the South you're in, that I wanted to make sure that I really tailored it to everybody's needs. And again, if you have questions or you're not quite confident that something I recommended for your area is going to grow there, be sure to go online and reach out to some of the resources that you as a taxpayer are entitled to, whether that be your county extension agent, your master garden, your local master gardeners program. There is lots of literature that is free, that's available online, that's going to tell you specifically your state and your region's abilities for planting vegetables month by month. And I'll always suggest that you take notes of what you planted at what time and keep that journal so that it helps you out for next year. That can help you avoid falling into the same pitfalls, and it can help you to really maximize understanding the nuances of your growing climate, because everybody's climate is a little bit different. And I hope you get out and get planting for August. I hope you have a beautiful fall and winter full of nutritious veggies, a bountiful harvest. Thanks so much. Take care. Thanks so much for watching this video. We sure love making them for you. Be sure to hit the subscribe button so you never miss one.